Hello everyone, this is Blender Guppy. So somebody requested I model a Starship using the Run the Flow add-on. So we're going to use also Creative Flow to help us with the um, base mesh. And some of the elements in this video will be different in your version that you're using because some of it I've already updated and the changes will be in the next update. Like this toggle here, this is new, so that will be in the next update. But the the stuff that I will be using in this video will be, of course, doable in your version. So let's just start with the base mesh. I'll start putting some mirror. So this is also next version. You can see that the 3D widget is no longer static and it responds to the viewport distance when you navigate the viewport. So this will also be adapted to the creative flow or the mirror. As you can see, this I haven't changed this yet, and you can see that this is static versus this one. So this is much better. This is much more intuitive. Okay, so auto mirror, and I'm going to use the uh, X and Z symmetry. So the Y symmetry is the front. Okay, so let's build our ship like this. So just a simple ship. I'm also going to show you a method of dealing with high resolution models because the operators deal with topology, and sometimes too much resolution can have detrimental effects on the speed of the operator. So there's a few techniques to handle that. Okay, so I'm gonna apply it first. I'm gonna apply the mirror back. Where's the extra spine mesh? You can also use Creative Flow's apply mesh. They're the same. And use this one. Sit like that. And reinstall the mirror X and Z. Okay, so make something like a bridge here. Oops. So extrude. Okay. Um, that's a symmetry issue. That's okay. We can have that detail. And add intersect object. So it's very helpful to add intersect object in creative flow. Very helpful for placing objects using vertices as the origin point. So auto mirror this as well, X and Z. So when I use the add intersect operator using these objects here, this inherited the source objects or the active objects origin points, and you can see it. So when I use the mirror here, we have the same um, origin points. Okay, so that will be the exhaust. Still gonna do the bridge. Add intersect. So how do you do that using vanilla? Well, and do it using this way. Um, Cursor selected, and then wherever the cursor is, then if you add Shift A and add these primitives, then those primitives will be added in that position. If you add cube like that, we're in edit mode, it's gonna add that to the active objects edit mode. Go to object mode, and then it will be a separate object. But when you're using the add intersect object, you don't have to set the 3D cursor there. It's automatically placed in that selected uh, vertex or vertices, mean or average location, and there. Even in edit mode, this is set or created as a separate object. So I find it better than the vanilla method. So let's make this a separate object. So this will be like a bridge or the bridge. Let's make it larger like that. And let's set a mirror and use only the X. Oops. This is, there we go. Use only the X axis. So let's just try with this. And whatever the the random extrusion gives us, we're going to model it further and extrude some stuff to make other details. Okay. s- let's add some more topology. Loop cut and slide to make sure that there's plenty there's enough topology for the random operators to work with, but not too much. Okay, so let me show you a technique. So for example, if you're not using symmetry and you have too many faces to deal with, and of course, using too many faces will have a detrimental effect on the speed of the operators versus using them all at once like this. So there's another method, and you will use random panels and clear faces outer. So you'll only left with this. So these are the top faces without the with the faces that make up the panel detail, the panel cut detail are removed. So we're going to use this method here and just reduce the thickness like that. Just a little bit, yeah, and also the depth, not too much. But that's 0, so raise it up a bit more. Okay, oops, I deleted the, okay, let's use that and random panels. Well, let's increase the thickness a bit and distance, clipping to clip the center. Okay, let's deal with the layout first. Let's use radial. And let's find a cool pattern to work with. Okay, this is good. The ship 003 plus 1. Ship. Okay. So what we did was make face islands that we can work with individually. So instead of using the whole object, because it takes too many faces, if you're working with too many faces, you can use the random panels with the outer clear faces to give you a segregated or segmented result that you can work with individually, and that gives you like just the top faces. So uh, hovering over a face, an edge, or a vertice or a vert, you can press L and it will select just that island. So you can uh, work with the with that piece, with just that piece, without using the entire model. So you can work with this in object mode. You can press Shift Alt Z to get rid of the overlay, or in object mode. You can also use this as long as those faces are selected. So I'm just gonna use object mode because I'm used with this. So random loop extrude. We go. First, I'm going to create sort of like a really uh small details for this. So like inner mechanism 0.01. I'm gonna cover it up later with larger uh islands, panel islands, using the random panels operator. So let's do it like that. Visual weight. So remember that some of the elements here are for the next update. So, but you can still use your version to follow this. Okay, let's do subdivision 7. So if you don't like the result, you can just repeat it afterwards. Uh, so this is just another technique, or you can just initially just use random panels. So I'm going to show you each method, and this is just another way of layering the effects. Now select the island, Alt A to deselect everything, and then L to select the next piece. What creates our detail. So like exposed detail. And loop 3. If you get spikes like that, then you can just play with the random seed to get rid of it, or find the edge from the source mesh. For example, this part here is creating those spikes. So just highlight that and mark sharp that, so the random operator will split that and not use the wrapping method. Or you can just use the split to split it in the sharp angles. Because wrapping, well, of course, wrap the islands on the will not cut the islands on the sharp edges, but will wrap it or try to wrap the island and find other faces on the other side, but sometimes it causes those spikes. L and is this an island? Okay, save. Let's try and hide the panel, or actually it's inside. So let's select the cube, and yeah, these are selected. Alt H, and then select the cube again. So Alt right mouse click will show you a pop-up menu where it will show you all the objects underneath the mouse cursor. So it's helpful to select objects that are covered by other objects. So the cube is inside all of these random loop objects. So you can use Alt right mouse button or click and select the cube. Okay, let's do random panels and increase the depth and none. So there's no clear faces there. And let's see, thickness and distance to clip the center line. And then we're going to activate this. So when we adjust this, it will not, you can see that the panakat details are being removed, but the faces are also are still there. With this, when you toggle this on, those faces will, instead of being flattened, will instead be deleted. Okay. Okay, let's try and increase the resolution and decrease the panel size. Try walk, increase this. So you can see what we're trying to do. We're going to uh we did the reverse. Instead of making uh big shapes first, we created small shapes, then try to cover it up with the big shape. So radial, we're gonna use number instead, and 150. So there's panels covering the inner mechanism we did for walk test. Okay, that's too much. I'm just going to use probably the radial 370. It's just percentage. And I'm going to use vertex group. So this is a new thing. In your version, you can find it in the settings, and this is called Insert Faces to Vertex Group. You can turn it on. So what I did was, instead of making an external setting, I put it back in the operators, the random panels and the random loop extrude as the use vertex group toggle. So that's in the next version. Let's try and find a suitable. Looks good. We're still gonna add more. Let's increase the depth. So that's the height of the random panel islands. And we're still gonna to detail this. Did I use vertex group? Yeah. So if I select this, this will select the top faces, but not the faces that makes the border or the panel cut details. So I can select this vertex group and use like random cells. Number again. Let extrude this thickness. Pressing individual. Also a minor UI change with random cells to make it more transparent. I place the thickness and thick shade up above the offset mode, so make it much clearer. So let's do 0 and uniform size and increase the island face island size 5. So that will create some small variation in surface. Rear adjacent increase to 5 and make some noise. Island size to 2. Select cube and select it again and use random cells and thickness. So it's all about layering the effects. Now let's try and use random cells to cover up this inner mechanism bit. Individual, nope. Uniform. So the random cells is not using any fancy algorithm like random panels and random loop extrude. So it's basically just, if you increase this, the islands will try and reach out with each other. So increase there we go, and thickness. Try to make variation in the shape. So with this kind of height, you can actually bake this. So there's no real protrusions. Now let's use random panel again and just adjust the height. Height. There we go. And increase the That's number 100, and this is 40. Well, if you're already experiencing some lag because of the subdivision, try and raise it up slowly. Okay, so um, we get that. We get parts of the ship that will have the that looks like inner mechanism, and with the right kind of texture, this will look really cool in the render. So we'll have most of the lights appear right here. Are we using? Yeah, this is using the vertex group. Okay, so random panels again. Let's use that, and 100%. Let's not use the. Okay, this is already the amount of faces involved is already making it pretty slow. So let's reduce the what's this 0.01, 0.01. This is the depth 0.005 or the height. So 0.002, and let's use inner. Okay, so that will look like a, let's use walk. Okay, probably not a bit too much for this. 250, 100. So this the clear face inner deletes the top faces instead and gives you the faces that make up the panel cut detail. So let's try and open it up a bit, yeah, and decrease the depth and radial, my shortest, and okay, none. Let's make the depth a bit, yeah, okay, like that. And you can also add more because it's, the top faces are not showing up. You can also add more lines. So you can use another process to make more lines, and you can join them afterwards as a single object, or combine radial and walk. And I have here the floater toggle, which is derived from the panel cut um, add-on, and that will this works only for cycles. If you turn the floater toggle on, then it the visibility, go to object properties, the viewport display. No, visibility. It will automatically turn this off. So this object here looks like a part of the surface underneath because it's not casting effects on the diffuse, glossy, and shadow side of things. Okay, so but you don't have this yet, so you can just select the object and manually toggle this off. And I'm going to select the other object again, manually toggle this off. So in the next update, this is automated using the floater toggle, which is inherited from the um, panel cutter add-on. This one, what's this one? Vertex group. Oh, let's just actually let's just use the good old link flat faces, generate the details here. Actually, I would to combat the speed issue, I would have just selected the islands individually instead of selecting them all. So, yeah, sorry about that. Percentage. Whoa, I should do a the limit and soft limit on that and add another layer. This time radial. And let's go to object properties for this object. Need that. The other one. Click and then press and then drag. Okay, so you don't have to click, 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 click. You can just drag, click and drag. Okay, it's the same with stuff like, for example, if the properties are this way, you can just click on one, drag, and then drag. So click, drag down, and click, drag sideways. So you can do that. But it doesn't work if the properties are sideways. So you can see, you can drag it to the next one. Maybe shift click. Nope, doesn't work. Okay, so we get those layer details. So if what you're looking for is not in this video, don't worry. I'm going to create more tutorials that will cover everything. So in this video, let's tackle this kind of technique first. And then the panels that make up the larger side of things, none, that will cover the some of the details. Go. You can manually just what, raise stuff up. So as long as you're not using limited dissolve, the results are actually quad structure, and you can just pull stuff using extrude and make some manual details. So this is the bridge area. So I'm just trying to model some extrusions. So if you're doing this and you want, so take your time with it. So I'm going to use random cells. One and increase the thickness. Reduce the pads. Individual. It's just split. Oops. I thought it was gonna crash. So those are those additional tiny details. Let's reduce the subdivision. Okay. So that's the bridge with just enough detail to. So don't worry about the resolution. This is hard surface and it's not gonna bend or smile like a knee or or a face of a person that's organic. So that means that we can get rid of the quad structure afterwards and just use ingons. Use limited dissolve to decrease the amount of faces involved. So right now the selected vertices are 6,000 after limited dissolve 992. Okay. And we're going to use the cube again. Okay. Select the cube. So what you saw me do there is that I selected the cube using the Alt right mouse click button, Shift H to hide everything, then go to edit mode and make sure that I have the face that I need for selection. Go to object mode, tab, and then Alt H2, show everything, but this time you can see the hidden objects are highlighted. So I need to reselect or isolate select the cube back again. There we go. And now that I have it selected, let's use the random operators. So you don't have to select the objects and hide just to get to the cube object. So just right click, and these are all the objects underneath the mouse cursor, and just pick the cube. Okay, so that's really convenient. What was I? Oh yeah, I'm going to use random cells to create little spikes, little spike details. So let's using subdivision to makes the so this I can't increase the number anymore using the control middle mouse button. So I'm going to manually increase this by manually putting a higher value. So for example, 25, and then I can use the control mouse button again to increase the number. So everything in the add-on has softmax limit. So it's still increasing. We need those to be smaller. So my advice is save often. Okay, so you don't run into any problems. So we've hit another max limit, soft max limit. So 52, okay, 60. So save often. So subdivision plus the number of full size will have the higher they are relative to each other, then the slower the operation will be. Okay, remember that. It's 25, 25 for each side since we're using symmetry. And let's just look for a good looking seed that we can use. So hopefully this will show up in render. You can also do another one. And 60. I think I use 60. And pick seed. So just to generate those tiny spikes. So point one. If you don't like it in the render, just click and delete and start over again. Okay, so this is the, if you want to add more details on some parts, just go there and extrude some parts. Okay, don't worry about resolution first. Those things can be fixed later on. And I forgot to next video will be about UVs, just a bit about UVs. So I'm not going to complicate the exhaust panel. So what is this? What do you always I can just, yeah, manually remove this. XFL and XF to save time or create the light uh, stuff for this, and increase the cuts. Use wrap and then use panels. Cover those, cover and expose some parts. Okay. So let's go to detail texture. Okay, I'm going to add our random vertex color on this first, but instead of using colors, so this is used for creating base colors you can use for the shading, procedural shading. So instead of using colors, I'm going to use just the black and white values. So saturation, min is 0, max is going to be 0 as well. So you have that. And minimum value 0 is black. So let's increase this to get more, to get a brighter minimum value, and also 1 point maximum, 2.9 to have a less brighter maximum. And also object, so per object the color is changed per object island, the color is changed per separate island inside the mesh, face islands, and selected, the color is changed per selected faces inside the mesh. So let's use island to get more variation in the color. The fastest will be object since it's per object, and the slower one will be island because depends on how many objects and how many islands is involved. And it's actually quite fast because we've selected everything and there's plenty of islands in some of the random loop extrude like this one. Oh, that's random cells. Yeah, this is random loop extrude, one of the layers. So we have that. Now I'm going to activate the HDRI and try to render this. So when the viewer is rendering, I'm not going to speak because my GPU is using uh the is tied to a software that is removing the noise automatically. So it breaks up when I try to render in the viewport and speak at the same time. Okay. So let's view this and rendered in viewport. I'm going to append materials that I'm using from the other file. The shift 3. I think I posted this on Twitter. So material, and just gonna select this tree, append, selecting, so shift G and T. That means that I've selected same type, so they're all mesh, and using creative flow, control shift X. This In order for this to work, you gotta have an active object in the selection. So how to create an active object in the selection? If they are all orange like this, just pick one, and you have this yellow. Depending on your theme, you have this other colored selection. That's the active object. Okay, materials, assign, and grunge metal. Okay, and I'll try to render this. Okay, let's start off the texture from the HDRI, so transparent. Okay, this needs a lot of work. We have to uh, make sure that the details we put in can be appreciated or be seen. Okay. Um, I'm gonna try and fix the rotation of the lighting. Okay, so this is the um, shader that I'm using, and these are the primary shader nodes that I'm using. You can buy this in Gumroad, in my Gumroad, or in Vendor Market. They are called um, Grand Shader Set, and this is the shader. I'm using J's placement. I might have to, we might have to actually edit this out. And for the lights also, J's placement. I've created those little dots using the software, and also some textures, panel textures using the J's placement software as well, to create those smaller details. And you can see we have those lines that we disabled using the this, for example, we disabled the ray visibility, we disabled except for the camera, and when we render, it looks like a part of the mesh underneath. Okay. So let's try and minimize the effect of the try and see the model without the J's placement texture on the hull, on the Starship hull. Okay, so rendered. Okay, so there's some more of that. And also, let's try and minimize the, I'm also using the same texture, this one, bump. So I'm going to make it weaker, 0.05. So as you can see, even without the texture, this already looks good. Actually, it looks cleaner, in fact. without the texture. And if you want more details, you can just go in with the hull and add more details with random cells or random loop extrude. So just make sure that those are just tiny details. So we've already made those small details in this part. So the ones that you will include here, I'll just merely uh, to accentuate the larger structure. Okay, so let's try and use maybe it's the color. Let's try and use object. So that's the good thing about this. You can just I think I think this is better. So let's try and use other HDRI like this one. Play around with the shadows, but uh, you can you can actually use the shadows to your advantage, and the proper contrast with the light can really make a um an awesome model look even better. Okay, so let's increase the lighting. And let's let's simulate the darkness of space and bring back the texture. Go to advanced. This is the Gaffer add-on, by the way, and you can get this in Blender Market as well. It's not my product, but you can support them by getting this in. Uh, Wait, is it still the Gaffer add-on? I don't know. So brightness, click and click. Okay, let's make it dark. Okay. So from here is just trying to from the tutorials I've seen, I think with the camera, the track lights, camera, unlock camera. It's all about the focal length, I guess. So uh increasing the focal length will make the object bigger versus something like this. I don't know. I'm still trying to master it because there's the focal length distance, and there's if you select the camera, there's also where is it? The size here. I guess this is a sensor size. I don't know. So it's all about managing this the focal length to make the object bigger. But I am not a master of that. when I when I render to me, I just set it up, and if it looks good, it looks good. But on the technical side of things, um, I'm just following the tutorials of others. So using this focal length, I guess you can see that it kind of looks big, and also it's all about the details. So some actually use birds to indicate the size of another object, another big object. So you can use in this model we've used the lighting. Okay, instead of birds, because we're in space, we've used the lighting to indicate the size of these things. So the lights are kind of like the portholes in the ship. So a good thing about this is you can also render this up close, and it will still function like as a starship. So if some areas do need other additional details, you can just add it. So we used random cells for this. You can also, I think this, let's model this. This is just a proxy. I'm gonna model some really uh, cool looking add intersect object cylinder view turrets. Raise it up a bit and Alt S, join them together, Control J, and set the cursor here, Shift Q, extras, set origin to, oh, okay, there we go. At the bottom, we can use, this is called turret. So that's F2 to F2 to rename an object turret. To show this, I guess statistics. Okay, right here. These are the UI for the 3D viewport. You can show the axis or hide the 3D cursor entirely if you're not fond of using it. Okay, so let's go with the panel. Shift G and try and use the top faces instead. And not, wait. Shift G, vertex group. Okay. I think so. Nah. Yes. Just the top faces. And then use this for scatter. Hopefully it reacts right. Scatter, mesh, and oh my god, turrets. So many objects. Turret. Oh my god. Look at that. 0.01, 0.01. Okay. Raise it up a bit. So in order for this to have no randomization, you can use the same value for the min and max. There we go. So let's try 0.03 and 0.03 here as well. And just increase the points. Okay, why is there's still some size issue? Okay, I gotta look into that. There should be no size issue. Yeah, I gotta look into this. Probably because of the size here. No. Okay, let's randomize the rotation in Z. 9 and randomize. So you can create little turrets like that as well. Why is it? There should be no randomization with the size seed. Yeah, it's probably the scale. Do change this. Yeah. So, but that's how you can use the scatter to create, to put stuff like turrets. So my turrets are pretty simple. Just make sure that you don't use any uh high resolution objects because that will slow down the operation. I gotta fix that for the next update, the size issue. There should be no size difference between each object because the size has the same value, min and max. Okay, so that's how you also create details. So I created the random cells to make it easier to create dots like this. And let's try and make more dots, random cells. Okay, sharp 0, 0.01. Just increasing the dots. What size? Just 2. See if you create you if you increase the panel size, it goes like that. And another one. There we go. And I think that inherited the vertex color and also uh, the material. And you can see them casting shadows, so and like that. And also to make them more obvious, you have to use different colors for each to make it um to set it apart from the surface underneath. So vertex color, object. Let's just try this. Okay, these are too big. They are too. Okay, let's remove this and repeat. The depth is too much, so let's use smaller depth or thickness 0.005 and use 2, 25, 50, 100. So 0.002. There we go. And make it bigger by reducing the subdivision. Another one. There we go. That looks much more subtle. Let's try and create varying sets of color gradation, gray color gradation object. Okay, there you go. It looks much better. Okay, let's try and create some variation in here as well. I think within two vertex group here. So I'm just gonna try good old Shift G and coplanar and try to create some bit of extrusions here. Let's try cells and increase the thickness and individual. Also the island size. Let's raise it up a bit and try and render. Okay, that's too much noise. Let's try another approach. Random not extrude. Yeah, that's too much. We'll leave it at that. Or you can go in and model some few extrusions of your own. Okay, I'm gonna try the this HDRI. Looks like some really bright sun. It looks good. Let's try and just create a Shift D separate. Just create a simple emission for this. So remove the grunge metal and add an emission. Shift S emission yellow. I think this already looks pretty convincing, and we didn't even use GH placement for the hull. Okay, and yeah, so those geometries creates using our lighting. These geometries create just those necessary detail. So it looks really chaotic with this not being rendered, but in time you will of course get used to it. This is how you layer those effects using the random operator. So in this workflow, we started with small, then to big, and then those big areas we then supported with smaller details. But yeah, those are the when you're going for the shapes, you can see that I'm not just selecting the not just any shape. I'm looking for a shape that looks functional to the theme that I'm modeling. So this is the Starship. Okay, so this part here, all these parts looks um to me looks like the starships that I'm seeing in the sci-fi shows. Okay, and when we render this, so let's move this and make it look like it's flying. So that is to me convincing with the details that I made. So because you can follow along with the method that I've used, but uh, eventually we're not gonna have the same result because of the random nature of our work with the add-on. But uh, just feel it, um, feel the shapes, okay, and try and select some. Use the shapes that make sense to you as an artist with the theme that you're using, okay, and with the textures and with the lighting, you will come up with this. And then you can save this and then use it with other scenes as a backdrop. So for example, it's there and there you've got other elements here. Let's try and hopefully it doesn't crash. Shift G, select everything. And okay, I'm gonna save so I can get back to that point. So extras, join objects, join it to the cube, don't crash. Okay, so it's now a single object, but we still have the problem of too much resolution. So we're gonna get rid of the we're going to ingonize this by not really ingonize. Some parts will be quad, some parts will be ingon. That's the nature of using limited solve. Okay, so clean up. No vertices. Oh, right now it's okay. Select all of it, and don't remove doubles, so it won't merge the islands. The generate solve. This gets rid of zero area faces. So let's use limited dissolve first. 5 degree angle. You can change it. Clip center is used when there's mirror. I think this has been applied because of the join. So max angle. Hopefully it doesn't, okay. And then get rid of, with everything selected, get rid of um, zero area faces if there is one. There are 16 vertices. And we have this. It's lighter. It's significantly lighter. We still have 207,000 I mean 100K faces, but this is already pretty light for this amount of detail. And we can array this, no problem. And Blender can still render this. We just have to fix the texture because it's now a single object, but the effect of the texture has changed because this is now a single object. But that's pretty easy. Okay, let's get back to the separate. Okay, so that is it. That is our layering technique for this video. And in the next video, I'm going to show you a bit of a UV trick with the add-on, or how to work with UVs. Uh, Partly work with UVs. It works kind of bit. It works a bit with UVs, but some parts will not be included. And that's for the next video. Okay, so and that's it for this one. If you have any questions, use the comment section below or the links in the description. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.